Before she could get to the ground, her husband had held her, pulling her up to stand. Everyone gasped, but then soon felt it was a dance move and started to clap. Only Alexander and Ophelia knew that it wasn't a dance move. It was instead she falling. Ophelia was never clumsy, but the gush of wind hit her slender body, which made her unsteady. Before she knew it, she was back in Alexander's arms as he swayed her and twirled her again. "You have to be careful. I almost fell," she warned as he twirled her one more time. "Don't you see? I just proved to you that you are incapable of hands. I was able to catch you in an instant, and you are lightweight, so it was easy," he said, smiling at her as he swayed her again. After a brief moment of silence, Ophelia looked at him as he gazed at her. "Is there something wrong? Why do you keep staring at me that way?" she asked him. "So you don't know love when you see it?" he said in an octave deeper than usual. "Is that supposed to be your way of showing love? That's just lame," she said, rolling her eyes at him. He looked at her closely. "What was that you did with your eyes? Were they like shutting down?" he asked her, laughing. "Alexander, I will not fail to leave you on this dance floor, so you dance with yourself," she said to him, not even wanting to look at his face. "Are you upset?" Alexander asked. Yes, I am upset," she responded. "I'm sorry, my love." He apologized. "My love?" she asked. "I'm not your love. Forget about calling me that." "So then, what should I call you? I see you prefer sweetheart," he said as his eyes twinkled at her. "I just wanted to inform you that you will not be sleeping in the same bed as me tonight. You will sleep on the couch instead," she said with finality, but still avoiding his eyes again. "So why don't you look at me in the eyes and tell me that? Repeat yourself word for word if you can. I dare you," he said. "Forget it, I'm done with this dance," she said, wanting to leave as he held her by the waist tightly. It wasn't the painful type of tight, but her hands were firm, and she could not move another inch. "Alexander, what are you doing? Unhand me," she whispered. "I didn't tell you to go. I still want to feel your warmth. The sea breeze is too cold," he said as he continued to sway with her. "What am I going to do with this man?" she thought to herself, trying to figure out ways to stop this dancing from going on. "So, I was telling you before you wanted to leave rudely that you should tell me to my face. If you can't, then we'll sleep in the same bed tonight." "Don't you realize I don't want to play your game? I'm not interested." He came closer to her ear. "Oh, you are. You are very, very interested, and I can prove it." "Would you like me to prove it?" he asked her. "Prove what? There's nothing to prove. I'm not interested. Take my word for it." "But then why are you blushing if you're not interested? And why did you gaze at my lips earlier today if you're not interested?" he said bluntly. "I wasn't looking at your lips," she tried to defend as a blush crept from her neck to her cheek. "I was looking at the sea," she lied. He laughed out loud, such that it attracted the attention of those who were dancing beside them. "You see, now people are looking at us. Let's go back to the cabin." "Oh, I thought you'd never ask, and here you were trying to kick me out of our bed," he said with a chuckle as he held her hand and led her back to their cabin. Once they got in, they closed the door and he locked it. "Ophelia, I'd like to tell you something." "What is it?" "Dismiss the fact that we will never share a bed, even if we are fighting. If we are happy and rejoicing, we will share one," he said with finality. His words sounded like law, and she knew she couldn't contest it. As soon as he said those words, he walked off, going into the bathroom. By the time he came out, he was freshly bathed. He smelled of male cologne. The scent invaded her nostrils as she stood where he had left her. "I can't believe you are still standing at the same exact spot. What's wrong? Are you so shocked you can't regain your composure?" She ignored him as she went into the bathroom to take a shower. Once she was done, she towel-dried and went into the bedroom. She had worn a pajama that she bought from the Sheep's Boutique. It was a singlet pajama top with short bottoms. As she walked to the bed, her husband admired her. "Sweetheart, you look very beautiful," he complimented. "Thanks," was all she said, and she laid back in bed, turning away from him. "Aren't you at least going to kiss me goodnight?" he said. She totally ignored him. She wasn't angry, but she wanted him to think so, so she said nothing. In no time, both of them drifted off to sleep. By the next morning, she was awake very early and out the door looking for coffee. She met the attendant. "Good morning, madam," the lady said. "Good morning. Is there a place I could get some coffee?" she asked, feeling nauseous as soon as she woke up. "Yes, madam, right this way." The woman led her to the breakfast buffet with coffee brewing at one side of the table. She quickly took her cup and poured some coffee into it. It smelled good, so she wondered if it would taste good. When she tasted it, it did not disappoint. It was just perfect. She was glad her husband had not woken up by the time she snuck out. She was very happy to have some peace and quiet away from him until a clearing of throat drew her from her reverie. She turned her head to find her husband standing there. She almost spilled her coffee. "What are you doing here all alone?" he said, taking swift strides toward her. "I missed sleeping beside you." "I needed coffee," was her explanation. "And you didn't think I needed coffee too?" he said, taking her cup and took a sip from it. "This tastes so good," he said, smiling. She looked at him with furrowed brows, looking from her cup to him. "Why didn't you go and get yours? Why drink from my cup?" she asked. "Is it so bad to drink from your cup? I'm your husband, remember? I wonder now if you're just scared of kissing me." "You didn't seem like that last night," Alexander pointed out. "That's your business," she said as she took her cup and drank from it. He smiled to himself. "I guess she doesn't hate me that much." "What are we having for breakfast? I hope it's not just coffee," he asked. "Let's have some from the buffet." "Of course, you can have whatever you like," he said with a double meaning. "Why do you always do that? Do you enjoy that?" she asked. "Why do I always do what?" He feigned ignorance. The double meaning thing, MD. All of a sudden, her phone buzzed. She picked it up, and it was the news she had subscribed to. Pop-ups of news on her phone, so whenever it came up, she'd get the latest news. The news she saw shocked her. Billionaire heartthrob gets hitched to a socialite. "Socialite," she said out loud, and Alexander watched her face closely. He had seen the same news report and wanted to gauge her reaction. "They say you are married to a socialite, Alexander. That's what the news is saying right now," she said, showing him the screen of her phone for him to read. "If the newspaper says it, then it must be true, right?" he said, taking her cup again and sipping some coffee from it. Her eyes narrowed as she watched him. "Look, don't worry about these things. I have PR that will clear up any misunderstandings." "Alex, you're not listening. This says socialite. I am not a socialite, and besides, they don't even know my name according to the news article." "It's only a matter of time. They will. It's better you prepare yourself for that," he said, getting up and walking off. As she walked, she bumped into a lady, and the woman staggered backward. The impact had made the woman disoriented. Their collision was inevitable. Ophelia's shoulder slammed into the woman's, sending both of them reeling backwards. The woman, an impeccably dressed figure in a tailored suit and high heels, let out an exasperated gasp, her designer handbag swinging perilously close to the ground. Her charcoal gray suit, perfectly fitted to her slender frame, spoke of high-end fashion and meticulous attention to detail. The jacket's crisp lines were softened by a silk blouse in a muted rose hue, peeking out at the collar and cuffs. Her high heels, glossy black stilettos that added a good 4 inches to her height, clicked sharply against the pavement with each step. The sound echoed her frustration, a staccato rhythm that matched her quickening pulse. The designer handbag, a coveted piece from this season's collection, was a work of art in supple leather and gleaming hardware. Its precarious swing with each movement of her arm hinted at her agitated state, the bag's contents surely jostling inside. Her face, framed by sleek shoulder-length hair, wore an expression of mingled annoyance and determination. Her expertly applied makeup remained flawless despite her evident stress. As she moved, heads turned. Whether it was her striking appearance, the aura of importance she exuded, or simply the dramatic nature of her exasperated gasp, She commanded attention in that moment. "Watch where you're going," the woman snapped, her voice dripping with irritation. She adjusted her sunglasses and looked Ophelia up and down with a disdainful expression. "I'm so sorry," Ophelia pleaded, trying to make the woman see the reason. "I didn't see you." "Of course you didn't," the woman retorted, her eyes narrowing. "Perhaps you should pay more attention to where you're walking instead of daydreaming." Ophelia bit her lip, feeling a mix of guilt and anger. She tried to stop herself from yelling at the woman, as she was indeed in the wrong. She had already been on edge, and this encounter was not helping. "I really am sorry," she repeated, trying to keep her voice steady. "It was an accident," the woman scoffed, flipping her perfectly styled hair over her shoulder. "Accident or not, you should be more careful. Some of us have places to be and don't have time to deal with clumsy people," the woman yelled in annoyance. It seemed she loved to be loud, because every word she said sounded like a bark. "I think the woman needs a slice of my tongue." Then she would know her place, Ophelia thought to herself. Ophelia's initial embarrassment quickly turned to anger. She straightened her posture and met the woman's gaze. "I said I was sorry. There's no need to be so rude. Have you not bumped into someone before? It happens. Get over yourself, you rude little thing. You think you have money, so should we all worship you?" "Nonsense!" Ophelia yelled back at her. The woman's eyes widened slightly, as if she was unaccustomed to being spoken back to. For a moment there was a tense silence between them, until the woman broke it. "You lowlife!" she screamed, and only the echo of one voice shut her up in an instant, sending chills down her spine.